Hello Luke, Laura and friends. First of all, I'm sorry about my face. I've just got in from work and I am so tired. Second of all, I'm back. I'm back home. I'm so happy to be back. I've not done much this week, which is why this video is just going to be me sat talking. But one thing I did do is I finished my book. If you remember a little while ago, I was reading a book called The Siege. I'd show you the clip where I mentioned it, but my laptop deleted it all, so thank you, laptop. And it was about the Siege of Leningrad during the war. And I did that thing, do you remember that, what I did with The Fault in Our Stars? Where I read it and then attached too much meaning to a book and too much meaning to a words and analysed it to the deepest depths of my psyche. With this book, it sort of summed up for me depression. The story itself is not about that. It's about, you know, St. Petersburg being cut off from the rest of Russia and not having any resources and, you know, trying to the people of Leningrad or St. Petersburg trying to survive the winter with no food. But the cyclical motion of the story reminded me very much of depression. It starts out where everything's fine and they're happy and, you know, they're planting, preparing for the future, things like that. And then the war comes and along with it, the siege. For me, that was very much, oh, the dark thoughts are coming. That uneasy feeling I get is coming. And then it gets worse and worse. The situations get worse. They think it's going to be okay, but then something else goes wrong, and then something else goes wrong, to leaving them to be very isolated, very much fighting for themselves, and then they're just doing anything they can to survive. And then there's a line one of the characters says, "This is the worst it's going to get." And for me, that was it. That was like, this is rock bottom. They have reached rock bottom. They have reached the worst this winter's going to get. That's the point where my psyche reaches the worst it can get. You know, my mood, my emotions, my thoughts, my feelings, everything reaches the lowest it's going to get. And it's at that point, you know, something's got to give, start to get better. Or in some cases, that's it. That's where people snap. That lowest point is where people snap. I mean, for me, I got better. I saw the up. And then the last few pages are just people remembering what's happened. They've got through the winter, it's now spring, and they're remembering what's happened and they're identifying parts of their old lives and gaining new things from it. And that very much felt like where I am now. I'm over the worst of it. Now I'm trying to readjust to everyday life and starting to try and get back to my old life and the way I was before. But no, something won't be the same. And they're preparing for the next winter. They're doing everything they can. Their new schemes, new plans, everything. This is where I got, and this is why I got there, and this is how I got there. So now let's use that and make it better in the future. And the book ends, but it doesn't really end. I don't know. I don't really know. I can't like describe it. It just doesn't. It ends, but it doesn't. It just finishes. But again, it doesn't finish. You know the story's going to be going on, and it ends with them just enjoying the spring, for me the happiness, and preparing for the winter, because the winter's going to come again and they'll be better prepared. So for me, my dark, low days, my bad days will come again, but I'll be prepared and I'll be able to have the means to identify and fight it. And so it ends, but it doesn't end the same way with depression. Just because you're over one bad period and you're in a good period, it doesn't mean you will never go back into a bad period. Obviously, depression isn't as predictable or as cyclical as seasons and years, because it's just not. It's subjective with everybody. So that was my deep, meaningful thought of the week. That book gave me a lot to think about. It was a good book. It was called The Siege by Helen Dunmore. I'm now going to read another one by Helen Dunmore called The Spell of Winter. Katie, if you're watching, I think you'd enjoy it. The writing's very good. Yeah, that's all I've got for you. Heavy load of analysis. But I enjoyed it. Generally, I've had a good week. Just been back at work. It's just been all systems go at work. When you're watching this, I'll see you tonight. I'm very excited for that. We're going out for Luke's birthday. Happy birthday, Luke. Other than that, take care. Love you both. See you next week.